All right.
Yes.
Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Metalholic and Access Entertainment,
Yes.
and of course Metal Nation Radio as well. I got too many things on my plate.
I love it. I love it.
It's been a while since we got a chance to sit down in person.
Yeah.
The last couple times we talked on the phone. Onyx, last one.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You told me it was going to be better than War of Angels. I was skeptical because I loved that album so
Right.
much, and
Right.
it came out and it blew me away.
Right. Well,
Now we're saying the same thing about Up, so I'm really excited. I've only heard the first two tracks so
guy
far.
who's wrote a lot of that Onyx record. I just feel like this one's just better. I mean, we're better studio musicians now. Something about being out west here in Seattle really rubbed off on us. And
Right.
I mean, we took, I think, the sound that kind of has developed on the past two records. We've kind of given it steroids in a way on this record, but we were able to experiment in different ways than we were never able to do in the past. Songs like Footsteps, that kind of came to life and gave us a new, fresh energy that I think we needed. It's been almost 10 years now since we got our record deal, and kind of it's been full time for us. So, it's been a nice kind of progression to see kind of how the band's grown, and this is the first time we recorded 2 albums with the same lineup. So this is it's a big win for the band. So it's huge.
True. Before I go any farther, because my big mouth didn't say it, Leigh Kakaty of Pop Evil, of course, sitting here with us today.
Yeah.
Although this time, same lineup, 2 albums in a row. You
Right.
switched producers though, not Johnny K
Yeah.
this time. You went with Adam Kasper, who's done some great stuff in the past, and you went to like 3 different studios, I think.
Yeah.
Tell us all about the journey there.
We wanted something different. Obviously Johnny's changed our life. He's amazing. He's like a big brother to me. But there's just something about Chicago that was just kind of we felt could really disrupt this next record. Being away from home longer now these days. We're from Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is like about 2 hours generously away from home. So there's a lot of distractions when we're not recording. We're going home, or now we know the city real well. So we're doing a lot of things to take away from our energy, focusing on the music. So right off the bat, we knew we wanted to get out of Chicago. And with the success that we had with Johnny K, we were really adamant about not getting complacent and just counting on that to just regurgitate the same success. We wanted to challenge ourselves and our fan base to continue to evolve our sound, and to do that we had to go in some unfamiliar territory. And when obviously we get a chance to work with Adam Kasper, you got to take it, man. He's a legend, and what he's done for the band, especially on this record, is just it speaks for itself when you get a chance to hear the record. It's awesome.
Well, what did you take away from working with him as a musician?
I took away being able to be more confident in yourself. With Johnny, he kind of got us in our early years when we were still, raw musicians. We weren't really studio rats at the time. Now, we've done it a handful of times now, at least for myself. It was more focusing on dialing in and getting the right sounds now, where before any sound sounded great because it was better than what we were doing in my garage, so anything was great with Johnny. But now to make sure we know now more than ever about what our live show's missing, and what we need to do to give a better live experience for our fan base. And I think it paid off. Adam, the way he kind of handled it, gave us a lot of confidence to do it ourselves. He really preached early on in the record cycle that he's like, look, this is your guys' record. I want to just enhance it. You guys got to tell me what you guys want, and I'll just kind of steer it the way it needs to be steered, naturally. And it was just amazing to hear him say that. Normally he didn't really muscle us and make us go this way or that way. He was very open to kind of letting us kind of figure it out on our own, and that made to, I think, a very personal record for each band member.
Right.
And we were supporting each other in different ways than we've ever had before. No one's fighting for any position, or no one's trying to fight for their ideas. We were very open to the best ideas and the most creative concepts to come in, and then see where they go from there.
Well, and nice segue then, because Onyx was based on where you were at in your career. It was sort of a dark record.
Absolutely.
You were sort of fighting in the trenches, if you will.
We were.
But this one is different. It's called Up.
Yeah.
It's definitively a lighter album in terms of tone and everything. Tell us a little bit about the album from your perspective.
Well, I wouldn't say it's lighter. I just think where the approach is going on this record, it's more positive, and it's about for example, being in a rock band, I mean, there's a lot of things to be negative about, whether you're watching the Grammys and there's no rock category, or whether you're upset because, you know, MTV doesn't play video. I mean, there's so many things that you can be negative about. But to be honest, to be a rock radio band in this day and age is very, very tough to do. And it's a blessing. And it's important for us and for fans to understand going into this project, we wanted to be more appreciative of the things we do have this time around.
Right.
You know, with Onyx, we were pissed off. You know, we were like, you know, maybe, you know, I mean, think about it though. Our lives could have been, our musical lives could have been over if that record didn't do well for us. You know, I mean, we could have been going home. I mean, there's no money. We're in debt. It's, you know, playing for free or playing for booze in those days. You know, it's just, those days are done for us. You know, we know how this business works now, and we want to make the best effort to give our music the best shot to win. So this record and being with Adam, it was so important for us to come in with the clean mind. It was almost like we got cleansed out in Seattle. You know what I mean? It's like the rain just washed all the negativity away, and we were like, wow, you know, like let's go. We know where we want to be, and you know, we want to be where the grass is greener, and it can be a little more healthier for us, and not just musically. I mean, you know, I mean, for me personally, you know, I've been drinking for a long time. I mean, I stopped drinking in January, so I'm almost gone a year. You know, and I just want to be better. I just want to be better. You know, I want to be healthier. I want my voice to be stronger, and to take those initiatives early on before it's too late. You know, and the band gets some kind of success and I can't sing as good, or whatever reason I'm not as healthy. So it's so important this record to start thinking about the way we are off stage, because the music and the stuff we do on stage is about 3% of it. The other 97% is off stage, and that's so important to your mentality and your focus on the stage. So we knew it would start with this record, and it started in the recording process. So Adam was very aware of that, and we made it very clear to him that, you know, we wanted to have more fun this time around, to not be so like pigeonholed that we have to sound like, you know, or we have to write Trenches 2 or deal with the Endeavor 3. You know, it's so important that we were giving this album its own identity with the respect that our live show has a certain direction right now, and it has a certain life, but there's things missing, we feel, from the live show that we really want, and we needed to create those songs that could give that, I guess, give the set that lift it needs to just give that more extra bit of energy that we want to take our fans. And we knew that when we did Onyx and when we were touring Onyx, that we still felt like there was a few songs missing that could really make this set perfect. And we tried to create that, you know, when we were doing Up. But there's certainly our share of pop evil, heavy, and rock on there. But we wanted to, again, like I said, give it steroids and not be afraid to try things that, you know, maybe it was about writing. It seems like every song we wrote in my career personally was always writing on guitar. So we want to do some things. For example, just add the guitar later. You know what I mean? Let's write with something different where you can create different melodies. So every song's not sounding the same. I mean, that's, at least for me, that's my biggest pet peeve. You know, I want an album to be diverse, where you can play it from start to finish and, you know, be emotionally challenged, you know, and you can, you know, I love albums that take you there. They give you moments, they bring you up, they bring you down, they bring you to that verge where you're to tears, or they bring you that, you know, that emotion where you're about to break, and then boom, they lift you right back up again. You know, those were my favorite records. And as a band, we wanted to make sure we were aware of that this time around, and to do it the right way. And I think Up, when we were all said and done, the name came last, and we just felt like everything about, even there's some songs that have some pissed off concepts, but it was still taking a healthier approach about letting that negativity out, or letting that frustration out, and then, you know, backing it up. Again, a song like Footsteps, just being appreciative, man. Hey, we don't know where we're going to be tomorrow. We can't predict the future, but, you know, we're going to do it one step at a time, and just go higher, man. Just focus on that rather than always being so negative in your daily life. And I think it paid off, man. We were having more fun in the studio, therefore it made for better music. You know, I mean, the music's got more pulse, it's got more bounce. The guitars are heavier when they need to be. It's just it was a fun process, man. It seemed like it happened really naturally for us, which was it's an exciting thing, because we feel like if we have any success with Onyx or with Up, we just feel like we tipped the iceberg in there. And just when we were starting to really get in the zone, the album was done. I mean, I think we demoed 25 songs, and so I think we only did 12 or 14. I don't even remember now. But I've been trying my best to stay away from the record till the release date. So I'm not, so I'm just as excited, and I'm not overwhelmed with old songs, so I want them to be fresh for me too.
Boy, you segued into almost every question I had there, but I can't get to all of them at once. But and that's sort of what I meant was not the sound of the record isn't lighter. It's the tone, you know, the overall feel of it. You were in a darker place then. You were in a more uplifting and positive place on this one.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we got into rock and roll to have fun, and I think we forgot about that on the first 3 records. I mean, it wasn't, looking back, I mean, I don't know if it really was fun. You know, it was proving ground, trying to just fight for, you know, making your paycheck and just living. I mean, it was more like about survival in the early years, where now it's like, okay, we're not afraid. We know, I mean, I feel pretty comfortable we can write a song. So, I mean, that's one thing I do know, you know, but how well and how far we can push, that's the challenge. And you know, I'm not going to live in fear of that stuff anymore. It was like, you know, let's just embrace it. We know what we can do. We know what we bring to the table. We know our fan base is, you know, some of the best fans on the planet, man, and they're there and they're honest, and we want to be honest with them as well, you know, and just be ourselves. And I think that shows more on this record.
Well, and you just from the little bit I've heard of it so far, just in Footsteps obviously sort of follows into that Pop Evil signature, but a song like In Disarray, you're getting into some other elements you haven't really touched on before. A little bit of Alice in Chains feel in there, going back to the roots of what you used to do. Well, they were just in this room the other night.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think, you know, you don't go in when you're writing a song and thinking about that. I mean, I think being in Seattle, being with Adam, things kind of rub off. I mean, obviously, I mean, I was a big product of the 90s, you know, I mean, you know, the Pearl Jam, the Foo Fighters, Alice in Chains. I mean, I think a lot of that might be just infused with me. I mean, In Disarray was a song that was one of Nick's originally. It was his riff, you know, and then it kind of blossomed. Footsteps is a great example of a song that's my song. So, I mean, for this album especially, we were so open to everybody's ideas coming in. I think that's the beauty of at least our band with Pop Evil is I'm not trying to dominate the writing process. I'm not trying to say, look, we're all going to write my songs and then everything sounds the same. So I think that's when you get that oh wow, that sounds like Alice in Chains or whatever it might sound like. You get the influence of maybe Nick's upbringing or where his riff was going, and then once you add my voice to it and the style and the story I'm trying to tell, obviously vocally it comes. I sing with melody, so obviously, you know, like Deal with the Devil, any kind of harmony you do, or I do with my own voice, it's very Alice in Chains in a way, you know, and that's okay. I mean, you know, I trust my voice better than ever on any record previously that, you know, I'm going to explore it. I'm doing things vocally on this record with my real voice that I haven't really touched on any other album. Well, unless maybe since Lipstick on the Mirror, actually, the first album, I was probably more in my normal voice vocal range. But it's exciting, man. We're stoked. I mean, keep counting the days for August and waiting for it to get here.
Well, it's a nice segue you made earlier about the albums that we grew up on and love, and I can ask you the same 20 questions about the new album, but you've covered it pretty well. Give us 2 or 3 albums that sort of informed who you are as a musician.
Man, I remember, there's so many, man. I was always like a song guy. You know, for me, it was, what was that song? Excuse me, what was that song that kind of made like my grandma rock and, you know, made 3 or 4-year-olds kind of rock? You know, what kind of was that song that kind of could cross all boundaries, cross any gender, any age group, and just brought people together? That was always, you know, but if I had to pick a record, I mean, especially maybe because it's just, I'm so in the Seattle way, but Pearl Jam was a huge band for me, you know. I mean, I know Eddie, I remember singing in the shower just trying to match his voice in the early days, you know. Eddie was such a big influence and invited us over to his house to listen to the record early on. It was a huge full circle moment to be able to kind of get the praise from one of your idols that, you know, you're on the right path and you just keep focused. And so I think that was a huge record. I mean, obviously the Guns N' Roses, the Metallicas, those were all great, but I was such a vocalist. I was always, the guitar was second for me. It was always about being a singer and writing enough to sing it. So some of the great singers and frontmen were always, you know, the Doors were big for me early on. But I mean, I know there's hundreds of records that probably were there. It was just always about writing hooks, and you know, being from Grand Rapids, Michigan, it was always what they were playing on the radio. I was a radio guy, always. You know, I mean, it was always fun in my music on the radio. I was always had that radio on. I never was really listening to my CDs. I always wanted to listen to music.
Well, it's interesting because of how it's twisted around. Of all the bands that are out there right now, Pop Evil has had amazing success on active rock radio. If this were 1980, 85, you guys would be headlining arenas but the music industry's not what it was.
Right.
But you guys have been very fortunate in that way because the music's there and it's great. And I was sitting here thinking the other day, because I was working on a Rolling Stones thing, and they informed groups like Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains, and then they informed bands like Pop Evil. And a couple of times in the last year when I've asked about some influences from younger bands coming up, Pop Evil's names come up. How does that, have you thought about that, the idea of impacting the next generation of bands?
To be honest, I haven't really thought about it. I mean, you're so busy about trying to break your band, you're not thinking about the influence you're really having. I mean, to me, it's hard to handle sometimes because you're so used to people not liking your band. Like you said, 20 years ago, we'd be an arena band. You know, now that it's here, it's almost like if you were to say you're a rock star, that bad word,
right,
people would disagree with you. And I didn't know that risking your family and sacrificing everything you do to make music for a living and get paid. I didn't know that didn't define it, but rather you could go to JCPenney's and get a T-shirt that says a rock star, or go listen to some hip hop, and that's more of a rock star than people believe you. So it's kind of a little unorthodox way of thinking that I think has been infused in us as musicians. So you're really not thinking about others in a way because you're so used to trying to just survive, man, and get your music heard. You're just trying to scream and be heard for so long that now what's happening is people are starting to embrace the band, and that's been tough for me, you know, because it's been, especially for being the leader of this thing, like it feels like I've been able to kind of keep it consumed for so long. You know, we've been spoiled. Like you know, you get your cake and eat it too in this business right now. I mean, there's tons of things to complain about, but it's kind of nice because I can control everything. But the bigger it gets, I'm starting to lose. I can't run it all. You know,
right.
I mean, I can't do it all. So letting the music kind of go, it feels kind of good right now because album doesn't come out till August 21. It's kind of in our pocket, so to speak. But once it goes out August 21, it's not your music anymore. It becomes, you know, kind of public domain,
right,
you know, and people are buying it, selling it, stealing it, all the stuff that comes about. And at the end of the day, you are having an impact. And you know, we certainly are trying to do that this record. And I think we are more in tuned to the idea of influencing other people this time around. And that's why, again, we wanted to take a more positive theme and remind people that, dude, rock can be fun. It doesn't always have to be. And obviously we have strong metal influences and strong rock influences, but you know, we're influenced by the acoustic guitar. You know, growing up in Michigan, and again, that's why Pop Evil was the ultimate name for us, because there was an element of us that wanted to be on the acoustic guitars with the ladies out on the beach drinking some PBR. That's all we could afford. But but then there was that other element when you're with the boys and you just want to break windows and just cause trouble and just turn up the amps to 11 and just break stuff. So I mean, Pop Evil, kind of naming the band that, kind of gave us the best of both worlds, that, you know, we could be honest with ourselves and our moods, that, you know, sometimes we were good kids, sometimes we were bad kids, you know, and we were okay with that. So we wanted to really kind of showcase our music that way. And finally, 4 albums in, we really feel like we're starting to be a unique band to showcase that identity like that. You know, I mean, there's so many bands that sound one way all the time, and that's okay. You know, that's okay. You know, like, I mean, you know, that's kind of what fans grow to expect. But with us, we're trying to say, hey, you know, like, again, one of my favorite bands was STP. So, you know, we think STP, I remember watching Headbangers Ball, first time they played plush acoustic, I was there trying to tape with my tape recorder, trying to tape that version. I didn't like the band version. I didn't want that rock version. I wanted the ballad version that I could play and sing at the top of my lungs with just one guitar and Scott Weiland, you know, the DeLeo brothers. And Scott was just, it just changed my life, man. If it wasn't for those kind of acoustic performances, or whether it was Eddie, you know, on what were they doing when it was Storytellers, you know, and it's just Pearl Jam unplugged, you know.
Well, that's ultimately it. If you can take a heavy metal song or a hard rock song and strip it down and play it acoustically and it still sounds good, you know you've got a really good song.
Absolutely, you know, and it's important to us to kind of, I guess, showcase how we grew up in the Midwest, how we grew up in Michigan, kind of give you a taste of that live. You know, we'd be lying, I'd be lying to you, I'd be fake if I was up there just playing heavy all the time. You know what I mean? If I had 12 songs that were all trenches, that's not really me. You know, I was the type of guy that was listening to Rage Against the Machine, listening to Pearl Jam, and even if the parents had some Alabama or some John Denver on, I mean, I was singing to that. You know what I mean? Like, whether it was didn't matter what it was. If it was good music, we had it on. You know, and growing up in the land of Bob Seger and Kid Rock, Eminem even, you know, it was all about performing. Like those kind of artists, like, if you don't bring your A game, you know, you get booed all the way back to your doorstep. I mean, people in Michigan didn't have money to waste. So when they had time and they had the money and they were going to spend it to be entertained, they want to be entertained. And that's kind of what we know. You know, it's like, even though we don't have the money to have all the pyro and the fancy sauce or all the crazy lights, we were like, look, man, even if I got to be jumping all over chairs or whatever, we're going to give these people their money's worth, and let's just raw dog them without condoms and just go crazy. You know what I mean? That's kind of the mentality we had. And now it's like we're trying to refine that and get focused and sound the best we can now that we're, you know, the band keeps growing and getting bigger, and hopefully as it continues to grow, that we can really dive into making the stage show even more theatrical, what we've always wanted to do, and you know, kind of build off that.
Well, perfect way to bring it all back around for our last couple of questions here. Number one, the album Up drops on the 21st, as you said. A couple of songs are already out there for people to hear.
Yeah.
How much of the new album are fans going to hear on this current tour?
That is the question. You'll have to just come and find out. But we never tell that. We are still working on the songs right now, but we've been very strategic about what we want to start playing. You know, it's interesting. I never thought we'd be in this position where you have 4 albums, so you have this catalog that's growing, right? So for the longest time, you had 12 songs you had to play, so that's all we had to play them, right? But now we have an amazing array of radio hits, so you're trying to, it's just like, I remember watching Papa Roach when we first toured with them. I was like, oh, that's right, they do this song, they do that song. It's just it's a set of hits, you know what I mean, which is amazing, and you know, it's starting to happen for us. So, you know, we're trying to kind of strategically put songs in, and what songs fit here, what songs fit there, and to try to give the album cycle the best longevity. You know, like we learned at the end of Onyx, and you know, I mean, it's such amazing success with the record that we realized we don't want to be burnt out at the end of the cycle. You know, and I know by the end of that we were burnt out. A lot of it was me not being healthy in my own way. My voice was beat up, my voice was tired, and but I think strategically this time around we want to make sure we can have the songs all rehearsed, because when you're a new band too, you don't always get time to go off the road and practice these things. You got to kind of practice them on the fly, and that's just no way we want to showcase all this music that we spent the past 3.5 months perfecting, you know. So we want to kind of give it the right time to be really dialed in before we really showcase this stuff. But you know, there's a good handful of stuff we got locked in now. It's just being smart and finding out what ones really fit this set now. It's going to take a little more experimentation, but you know, we definitely got some surprises we're working on, and you know, we're going to be bringing it. So get out and see us live.
Well, that'll take me down to our last question all around that. I mentioned earlier, Alice in Chains in this very room just a couple nights ago. They were sitting here figuring out which songs to play, because they've literally changed their set every night. You know, there's a core group, but like the opening with a different song every night, something deep cut. Do you guys sort of just stick with the same set through the whole tour, or are you guys going to be changing it up a little bit as you go?
That's a good question. I mean, we constantly talk about it. Obviously, when you're Alice in Chains and you've had that kind of success, you have that many albums, I think it's fun to you know, when you're having those kind of many people come to your shows. I mean, we're still, you know, probably a baby band to some people, you know what I mean? So I think it's important to have the perfect line of consistency blended with you know new stuff that keeps your old fans that keep coming interested as well. But you do want to have a certain I think element of consistency right now. But obviously with this record, as this album kind of gets a little further along, it's important for us to kind of, you know, be a little creative. We'd love to be at a place where we could do a show. It's just all B-sides, you know what I mean? Just not one hit. We always joke about we'd love to do it. But you know, right now I just think the focus is trying to get this album out, and everyone's excited and getting back in the touring cycle. Like, this is just a little bit of an introduction to the album. I mean, the real tours don't really start till after the 21st, but
after the album drops.
Exactly. So right now we're just kind of getting our feet wet, and we've been off for I think 6 months. So it was important to kind of get back, and I think we did a few things here and there, but for the most part we were all off and just trying to recharge the batteries and get ready for the long haul that is up.
Well, we're glad you made it back at the beginning of the tour, Boise, because I don't think we got a true headliner date out of you guys on the Onyx tour.
Yeah,
we got a couple of opening things, but not a full headline thing. So we're excited for that. Leigh, Kakaty, Pop Evil, the new album out August 21st.